Society's got a problem with strong men. I'm not talking about the toxic, dominating, aggressive behavior. I'm just talking about men who are grounded, who make decisions, who can handle pressure, who have that inner strength that doesn't bend with every social wind. Here's what I've noticed. There's this constant narrative about toxic masculinity. And before you think I'm defending this toxic behavior, I'm not. Genuine toxic behavior, that's like abuse, manipulation, violence. That's not masculinity. It's just being a piece of shit. But what's happening is different. The conversation has shifted from don't be toxic to don't be strong, from don't dominate others to don't be decisive, from don't be emotionally unavailable to don't have boundaries. And I think there's a reason for this. Weak men are easier to control. Soft men are easier to manipulate. Men who second guess themselves don't challenge systems. Men who are constantly seeking approval don't rock the boat. But here's the contradiction that, I guess, kind of annoys me. Society tells men to be softer, more emotional, more vulnerable. But the same society still rewards strong men. Women still choose confident, grounded men. Businesses still promote decisive leaders. In crisis situations, people look for the guy who can handle pressure. So what's really happening here? I think we're dealing with a massive double standard. You see, society wants men to be soft enough to control, but strong enough to perform when needed. And that's just putting men in an impossible situation. Let me share some data that I guess will help break this up for us. 86% of men still feel the pressure to be providers, but they're also told that traditional masculine roles are outdated. Men are experiencing depression and isolation at record rates. I was one of them. Suicide rates among men are 4 times higher than women. Nearly half of male teens have never even dated. And I guess here's what I think is happening. Men are getting confused about what authentic masculine power looks like. They're either swinging to one extreme, becoming these caricature alpha males, or they go into some other extreme, becoming completely passive and uncertain. But here's the third option. And that's what I guess wanted to bring up with you guys today. How to maintain authentic masculine power without becoming what society wants you to fear. First, let's, define what I mean by masculine power. I'm not talking about dominating others. I'm talking about emotional unavailability. I'm not talking about toxic behavior. I'm talking about inner strength that doesn't waver based on external approval. It's the ability to make decisions and stand by them. Stand your ground. Don't fall back. Emotional resilience that can handle pressure without breaking. Clear boundaries that you can maintain without aggression. Confidence comes from knowing who you are. And that's what I call grounded masculine energy. And it's what the world desperately needs more of. But you know what? Society tries to soften this in several ways. First, the emotional manipulation. You'll hear things like only real men show emotions, or vulnerability is strength. Now, emotional intelligence is important, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying be a fucking robot. But there's a difference between healthy emotional expression and emotional instability. There's a difference between vulnerability and weakness. Vulnerability is choosing to open up from a position of strength. Weakness is having no choice but to fall apart. And I guess a powerful man, if you think about it, a powerful man can express emotion without being controlled by it. He can be open without losing his center. He can be caring without being weak. Secondly, you have the decision-making attack. This is where society will tell you that being decisive is dominating, that having strong opinions is toxic, that leading is controlling. But here's the reality. Life requires decisions every single day. Families need leadership. Businesses need people who can choose a direction and stick with it. A powerful man makes decisions based on his values, not popular opinion. He listens to his input, but he doesn't outsource his judgment. He takes responsibility for his choices, whether it's good or bad. Third, the boundary dissolution. You'll be told that having boundaries is rigid, otherwise inflexible. That saying no is selfish, that protecting your energy is closed off. But boundaries aren't walls, they're property lines. They're not about keeping people out, they're about maintaining your integrity. You see, a powerful man knows when he will and won't accept. He communicates these boundaries clearly and kindly, but he doesn't negotiate them based on other people's comfort. Fourth, the approval-seeking programming. Now, society will make you feel like you need to constantly prove you're one of the good ones, right? That you need to apologize for your masculine energy, that you need permission to be strong. But approval-seeking is the death of authentic power. When your strength depends on others' validations, it's not strength, it's performance. A powerful man validates himself. He doesn't need society's permission to be who he is. He cares about being respected, not being liked. That's the difference. So how do you stay powerful in a world that's constantly trying to soften you? Well, here's a framework that worked for me. Firstly, know the difference between power and toxicity. You see, toxic behavior comes from insecurity, not strength. Real power is calm, control, and purposeful. If you're just lashing out, manipulating, or dominating, it's just not power. It's weakness disguised as strength. True masculine power protects, provides, and builds. It doesn't tear down, control, or diminish others. Secondly, you need to develop internal validation. Your worth isn't determined by society's approval. It's not determined by whether people think you're toxic or evolved. It's determined by your character, your integrity, your impact. Build a relationship with yourself that's stronger than your relationship with others' opinions. That's where you need to understand. You got to know your values, live by them, let others think what they want. Thirdly, you need to master emotional regulation, not emotional suppression. There's a big difference with this. Emotional suppression is ignoring your feelings until they explode. Emotional regulation is feeling your emotions without being controlled by them. A powerful man feels everything, but he chooses how to respond. He doesn't react from emotion. He responds from wisdom. That's where his stoic mind kicks in. Number 4, lead by example, not by force. Real leadership isn't about making people do what you want. It's about being the kind of man that others naturally want to follow. Now, this might mean living your values consistently. It means making decisions you can be proud of. And it means taking responsibility when things go wrong, because they sometimes will. You basically have to be someone others can depend on. Number 5, build genuine competence. A lot of the toxic masculinity that we see comes from men who feel incompetent. They overcompensate with aggression because they don't have real confidence in their ability. So then real power comes from genuine competence. If you get good at things, you put in the reps, it just becomes second nature. You got to develop skills that create value. You need to build strength physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Because when you know you can handle whatever life throws at you, you don't need to prove it to anyone. Number 6, choose your battles wisely. Not every challenge to your masculinity deserves a response. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is just cut the noise. Just ignore it. Because society will keep trying to bait you into defensive reactions. Don't take the bait. Stay focused on building rather than defending. You'll use less energy. Number 7, surround yourself with other grounded men. Now this one's crucial. If you're the only man in your circle who values strength, you're going to feel crazy, bro. You're going to feel like an outlier. You need to find men who understand the difference between toxic behavior and authentic power. You need men who support each other's growth without trying to tear each other down. That shit is unhealthy. You need men who can challenge you without trying to soften you. But look, here's the bottom line. The world needs strong men. Not toxic men, not dominating men, not aggressive men. I'm talking about strong men. Men who can make hard decisions. Men who can handle pressure. Men who can protect what truly matters. We need men who can build something meaningful. And the reason society tries to soften men is because strong men are much harder to control. They don't follow every trend. They don't need constant validation. They don't outsource their decision making to popular opinion. They just don't give a fuck. It doesn't add any value to them whatsoever. But that's exactly why the world needs them. Now I want to address something directly. If you're watching this and you're thinking, I don't want to be seen as toxic, I get it. None of us do. But here's what I've learned. If you're genuinely concerned about being toxic, well, you're probably not toxic. Think about it. Toxic people don't worry about their impact on others. Your concern about being a good man is evidence that you are one. Don't let that concern be weaponized against your strength. The goal isn't to be what everyone else wants you to be. The goal is to be the man you're capable of becoming, whatever that may look like. Obviously, it's different. But ultimately, the goal is to be at your full potential. You need to be strong enough to protect what matters. I guess wise enough to know when to use that strength, and grounded enough to stay centered regardless of external pressure. And that kind of man doesn't just benefit himself. He benefits everyone around him. His family, for one, feels safer. His friends feel supported. His community feels stronger. Because authentic masculine power isn't about taking it from others. It's about having enough strength to give. Basically being selfish enough to the point where you can become selfless. So don't let society convince you that strength is the problem. Weakness is the problem. Insecurity is the problem. Men who can't handle their own emotions and take it out on others, that's the problem. But men who are strong, grounded, and purposeful, the world needs more of those. And if you're ready to become that kind of man, you know where to find me. I make videos like this every day. And look, building this kind of authentic masculine power isn't something that you do alone. It requires guidance, community, and a systematic development. If you're tired of being told to be softer when what you need is to be stronger, the right kind of stronger, then let's work. Let's work together. I help men build this kind of strength that serves them and everyone around them. Links below in the description. But whether or not we work together, just remember this. Your masculine energy isn't toxic. Your strength isn't the problem. Your desire to be powerful isn't something to apologize for. Just make sure it's authentic power. Power that builds rather than destroys. You need power that protects rather than dominates. And you need power that lifts others up rather than tear them down. That's the kind of masculine energy the world actually needs. None of this bullshit that you're seeing in the media these days. But look, if this resonated with you, hit like, drop a comment with the keyword powerful if you're committed to building authentic masculine strength. And share this with a brother or any man who's, I guess, sick and tired of being told to be softer when what he really needs is to be stronger. Because the world has enough weak men. What it needs is more men who know how to be strong the right way. Now go and build that strength. I'll catch you guys in the next video.